Welcome back to another episode of AFL Cape York House TV. We're getting to the end of 2020, another big year and even bigger this year with regards to the pandemic that rocked Australia and the whole world. So it's been a little bit hectic, but we got to the end and the boys are about to take off. But term 4 was a big term for the transition. We've got a big group of year 10s, 11s and 12s, and Peter, our careers and transitions manager, looked after an industry tour that went to Weipa and had a tour of Rio Tinto and the bauxite mine up there. So Pete, can you give us a bit of insight into what the program was for, what you did, what the trip entailed and so on?
Yeah, well, we managed to tee up 12 of our boys to go up to have a little tour of Rio Tinto and have a little chat to some of the staff that were there, some of the Indigenous staff about their journey and how they got jobs and where they've ended up and their pathway to it, which was really good because a lot of them were related to our boys somewhere along the way. The boys were really engaged in the whole trip. The tour, they took us out, they showed us the mill operations, the trucks, the dump trucks, and they also taught the boys a lot about what sort of other jobs that are provided by Rio Tinto. They can move into plumbing and electricians, carpentry. They had an archaeologist that would go out with them and look at sacred sites and work with Rio Tinto and that sort of thing. And yeah, the boys really loved it. It was great.
Awesome. So what was the purpose of it? Like doing an industry tour of something like Rio Tinto, what does that give the boys?
It gives them a little bit of perspective into it's not such a big, bad, frightening world out there. It makes them feel a bit more safe with their potential opportunities. Saying that there's jobs at Rio Tinto is one thing, but going and actually having a look and making them feel a bit more comfortable about the environment and the surroundings and the fact that they're a bit closer to home just makes them a bit more comfortable about that transition sort of phase.
Good, so it's a little bit of research opportunity for the boys. They get to see what it's like. And you mentioned the comfortable stuff and being comfortable with the uncomfortable environment or the big scary world. So tell me, how was the trip? You left early Thursday morning and set up camp up at Weipa. How was it all? Give a rundown of the actual trip.
We left early morning on the Thursday, made it through to Musgrave for a bit of lunch. Ended up in Weipa about 5-6 o'clock that night. Had a bite to eat and set up camp in the Swags, which is a beautiful spot at the Weipa Caravan Park up there. Didn't get a lot of sleep. It was pretty warm, so it was a bit uncomfortable, but the boys, to their credit, were up bright and early, 6 o'clock in the morning, ready for the tour. Took them all down, met the Rio Tinto officers behind the Bowls Club, and off we went. They did an induction, they kitted the boys out with their PPE, which they let the boys keep at the end of the day, which they were pretty impressed with. Took them out to the mine sites, did a tour. We had a charter bus that took us around, which was great. They gave us some lunch at the end, and at the end, that's when we sat down and had lunch with some of the Indigenous workers that were there and shared stories, and that was probably the highlight of the day, where they just engaged with them, found out how many Hiluxes each of them owned and all their go-karts and toys that they could buy with the money that they would have gotten from the jobs. And that went on for at least a good hour, and yeah, it was a really good part of the trip for them.
And then camped again at Weipa and then took off the next day and got back to Cairns on Saturday night?
Saturday night, yep. So that was good as well. Managed to squeeze it all into a few days. Boys were great on the road. It was no problem at all, yeah.
Awesome. So another opportunity for the boys to see what other jobs and opportunities are out there when they do finish school. Pete, why do you like doing your job, careers and transitions?
It's about opening doors for the boys. Opening doors, if they want to go through them, they can go through them. It gives them different opportunities. It gives them a taste of things they might not be able to get a taste of back home. So yeah, it's just good to see them try things and find their feet.
And it's about giving the students an opportunity to see what's out there, but choose their pathway. And it's not about us telling them what pathway they have to do, but if they want to finish school or go off onto a trade or do a different school program, well then it's about us facilitating those discussions and those options and choices for the kids. You've got a big year next year, Pete, at this stage. If all the boys come back, all the senior boys, you've got a big year of careers and transitions stuff. What are you most excited by? It might be a little bit nervous about as well with regards to the learner's licence.
Yeah, 16 driver's licences will be quite terrifying. To be fair, most of them know how to drive better than me by the time I get to them, so they're normally pretty good. But yeah, we'll have a big strong cohort of learner drivers, and we'll even have a few P-plate drivers, which brings its own challenges.
Yes, it does. We're going to work out what we're doing with those guys, but yeah.
But to see a big group get through and graduate year 12 would be ideal, with each of them having a pathway in place at the end of it.
And at the end of the day, here at AFL Cape York House, for boys, it's about working together through all the different pillars, careers and transitions, education and wellbeing, so that we allow the students the best opportunity to transition successfully into whatever it is that they want to do. So thanks very much for Peter for your work this year in 2020. It's been a tough year from your end in terms of students being on site, having to go away for the COVID stuff and so on, but you've done a terrific job, so thank you on behalf of the boys and their families. Thank you very much for your effort and your passion and energy. So guys, until next time, thanks very much and thanks for watching.
Jag minns ju den tid du gav mig life billar, yo. Nu vill jag kunna ge tillbaka allt jag inte kunna ge förut. Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för det, baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig på det jag lägger av min tid. Jag vill ha det. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda, baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig. Aldrig kommer aldrig känna så här för någon annan än dig. Aldrig kommer aldrig känna så här för någon annan än dig. Varje gång jag bak på dig, jag tänker åh vilket kap jag har gjort. Jag skulle gå tillbaks i tid, göra om allt igen och förstå. Ser det som ett allt, det är dig jag vill wifa. De här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig på det jag lägger av min tid. Jag vill ha det. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda, baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig. Aldrig kommer aldrig känna så här för någon annan än dig. Aldrig kommer aldrig känna så här för någon annan än dig. Jag vet det bara life om igen och jag vet det bara ta sin tid. Jag vet det bara life om igen och stay with me, please. Jag vet det bara life om igen och jag vet det bara ta sin tid. Jag vet det bara life om igen och stay with me, please. Du lägger till, du är där för mig. Jag svär mitt liv kretsar runt dig, baby. Du bär på mina bebek så att när jag visionerar vår framtid. Låt mig hålla dig, baby. Hey, yeah. Kommer aldrig känna så här